I got my coffee and I got two cameras, so that means yes, it is story time again. I have another LA story for you guys. This one, let's see. I told you about the first film I worked on in the first of this series. So the next thing I'll tell you guys about is my first audio post-production job, my first real one, because if you're trying to make it as a freelancer, you take on a lot of individual projects, this film here, this series there. But the real goal when you work in audio post-production, if you want to do it full-time, is to get a staff position or get on the payroll at a post house. We call them post houses in the US. They're studios that specialize in audio post-production. So being that I was green, my first summer in LA, had very little money, pretty desperate for work, I was selling my music gear, my DJ gear, just to try and keep afloat because it's so expensive down there, and I didn't have, like a wealthy benefactor to pay for stuff. So I was really struggling, and I got desperate, and I needed to get my resume in front of people. To me, that was how you get a job. So I printed off, I think, 30 resumes. I went down to Hollywood Boulevard, got the 3 suits for $99, which with inflation now is probably like $199. And, I was like, I need to look professional. So I got a cheap suit, and I also had to deal with the fact that my wife and I had one car between us because we had to sell a bunch of stuff in order to afford moving to Los Angeles. She used the car for her actual job. Like, she got a retail job to try and support my dreams, which, thinking back, I should really thank her for that. So it was kind of difficult because, well, she's got the car, she's driving to work. Where does that leave me? We live in Glendale. All the studios are in Burbank, Hollywood, West LA. They're far away. So I took my resumes, I put my suit on. It was July of 2008. Really, really hot stretch of weather, like 100 degrees. We had no air conditioning in the apartment. So I got as presentable as I could, put my best walking shoes on, and I walked to Burbank. It was about a 5-mile walk. And all along the way, any place that looked like a studio, I would just take my resume, and if nobody answered the door, put it in their mailbox. That was my plan. I was just gonna shotgun my resume around, and somebody will take a chance on old Tom. So I hit up so many different places. I even hit up a place that I still work for. And every place, what they do is they have what I call a gatekeeper, a secretary that sits at the front and deals with giving you the Heisman. You try to hand your resume in, and they just, give you the hand and say, "We'll keep it on file," and then they take it and they drop it right in the trash can. Still happens today. So my goal was always to get past that receptionist, and I figured out a couple tricks for how to do it. Which one of them is figuring out the name of the owner and just say you have a meeting with them. Hey, I got a 2 p.m. meeting with Craig. Ring him up because clock's ticking here. Go in with confidence, act like you know who you're talking about, be comfortable, and they usually wouldn't ask who I was or any details. There's, oh, yeah. And then Craig would come out and be like, "Who the hell are you? Get out of my place." So anyways, I had handed out as many resumes. Keep in mind, I was in a suit. I was walking 100 degrees, July. I am drenched in sweat. Like, not a good look for Tom to go into a studio and be all sweaty and desperately handing out a crinkled up, greasy resume. No, not good. So I hiked all the way from Glendale down, I think, Glen Oaks or Victory or something. Went to Olive, went all the way up Olive to the media district by, I think it's NBC. And by that point, I was pretty dead. I had like one resume left. I saw this sign on the building that said Sammy Sound, and it was in the Film Look building on Olive Avenue. And so I thought, well, it says sound right there. So I'm going to try this at my last place. I'm done. And I walked in. I think there's an elevator or stairs up, and the receptionist is there. The gatekeeper's ready to just give me the Heisman. She says, "How can I help you?" And I'm like, I'm all sweaty and out of it, like, "Hey, I have a sound editor, here's my resume." And she's like, "Oh, you're a sound editor. Oh, okay, well, let me get Sam." So she rang Sam in the back. Sam came out, and it was like, whoa, I'm going to get to talk to somebody here instead of it just being hand a resume and it goes right in the trash. So Sam comes out, and he's like super laid back. He kind of looks me up and down. I'm covered in sweat and like a wrinkled crappy suit from Hollywood Boulevard. Got my last resume that's all scrunched up and gross from walking in the heat with me. And I hand it to him, and he looks at me, and he looks at my resume, and he kind of, just glosses over it. And he says, "Hey, what's up with the suit?" And I said, "Well, I wanted to look professional, so I got a suit. And, because I'm new here, and so I wanted to make a good first impression." And he said, "Well, this is LA. We don't wear suits. Suits are for like bank guys. If you want to work in post, next time wear some jeans and a polo or a button-down shirt, and you'll look like a post guy." So I was like, "Okay, good. Thank you for the advice." And he kind of like looks a little closer at my resume, and it's all student films and stuff I had done. And he says, "Well, it doesn't look like you've got a lot of professional experience here. What can you actually do?" And I told him what I could do. I'm really comfortable with Pro Tools. I can edit sound effects. Haven't done a lot of mixing, but like if you need somebody to like edit stuff and get stuff ready for you, I feel comfortable doing that. And I'm really looking to get experience at a place. So he obviously takes pity on me and sees that I'm sweaty and everything, and he asks like where I lived, and I told him that I live here, and he's like, "Do you have a car?" And I said, "Sort of, but I had to walk here because my wife has a car today." He laughs about that. So he took pity on me and actually offered me kind of some like contract work, like, "Hey, come in on Monday. We'll do $25 an hour, 1099, see what you can do. And, if you're good, if you're as good as you think you are, then I'll have pretty steady work for you." It was 2008. So the writer's strike had happened. Reality shows were taking over, and there was just a lot of them. So he had a lot of reality shows in the pipeline. I started track laying on those. I ended up doing a wide variety of things: sound design, some VO recording, a little bit of mixing, a lot of assistant work. And that first job I had from Sam really ended up being like the foot in the door that just opened up my career. So thank you, Sam, for that, for taking a chance on a sweaty guy in a suit back in July of 2008, because that was like the first step for me, and I went other places after that, and my career did what it did. But that was like the very first time that somebody had offered something to me, with basically no experience, just based on effort. I just put the effort out there. So if there's anything you could take away from this long, meandering tale, it's that don't give up. Just keep pushing, keep trying, give everything you got. If this is something that's important to you, whether it's doing audio post-production or finishing a film or being a good dad, like whatever is on your plate that is important to you, do not give up. Keep pushing. It's going to be hard, but if it's worth doing, you'll find a way to persevere and make it. Because if I could do it with that, all the factors that led up to me walking 5 miles in a suit in July, if I was able to come through that and make a career out of it, I think pretty much anything is possible. You just have to kind of set your mind to it and don't give up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It's been kind of nice to reflect on it, actually, and actually kind of motivates me to not give up on some stuff. So on that note, I will take a final sip of coffee, and I'll see you guys on the next video. See you then.